And I think one of the biggest life hacks, thank goodness, I learned is we're all designed as humans to be happiest when we give. And our culture most certainly does not teach us that, right? And maybe it's not intuitive because of that. But my goodness, the high and the satisfaction, selfishly, of saying, hey, I have $100 or I just earned $100 and here's $10 that maybe doesn't seem like it makes a difference, but to see that it actually does, not only in the recipient, but also in the giver, it's a game changer. It really, really is.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I'm your host on this journey I like to call a podcast. Yonah, Weiss, that's me. And today with me, I have Amy Sylvis, all the way from sunny California. Good morning and good day. How are you, Amy?
I'm incredible, Yonah. Thank you so much for having me on. You mentioned Los Angeles or California. I'm not really starstruck, but I have to tell you, you are such an amazing figure in our community. I am feeling a little nervous and starstruck. So it's good to see you.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm so grateful for you to be joining us. For those of you who don't know Amy, besides for being prolific on LinkedIn of recent, thanks to the 10-day challenges that we're doing all together. She is the founder of Sylvis Capital. It's a real estate investment company, and she has partnered with Quattro Capital. You guys may have remembered some of the partners that have been interviewed previously, like Aaron Hudson, Chad Sutton, Maurice, Philly Jones. If you guys remember these people and you haven't listened to their episodes, they're going to blow you away. Each one in their own right have an incredible story and are doing amazing things. So I'm grateful to be joined by yet another awesome partner in that company. And Amy has been involved with them for quite some time and is contributing a lot, not just in the capital raising side of things, the asset management, but marketing and everything else that goes along with running a successful real estate investment company. So welcome to the show. And tell us a little bit about how you got involved in real estate. Obviously, you didn't start there.
Thanks, Yonah. Such a pleasure to be here. I'll say that again. Yes, it's been quite an interesting journey getting into multifamily real estate. My story is a little less sexy because it took me about 10 years to get into the industry, believe it or not. Right out of graduate school, it was really something that piqued my interest. And I tried and failed several times. And it wasn't until right before the pandemic, believe it or not, that I was finally able to get into the industry. So happy to dive into kind of my reasons why and what that journey looked like. But that is the 10-year overview, if you will, of how I got here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am curious to know what were some of the challenges that, obviously it took some time to really get involved into where you are now. Obviously, you feel like you're in a good place now. You're doing great things and you love what you're doing. But What were some of the challenges that kind of led you up to the obstacles that prevented you from getting there? I mean, a 10-year journey has a lot of ups and downs. So I'd love to hear some of those.
Without a doubt. So my story is I was born with an illness called cystic fibrosis. And for those who aren't familiar with what that is, it's basically a lung deterioration disease. So when I was born in 1981, I'm 40, my parents were told I would live to be maybe 16 or 18 years old. And kind of on that lifespan, I would gradually lose lung function and my ability to function. So as you can imagine, I had a bit of an awareness from a young age of my mortality, but it's not all sad, right? It kind of drew this fire in me to want to be independent, to want to live life to the fullest. And as, thank God, I grew up and surpassed that life expectancy, went to undergrad, I had this sense of knowing that perhaps down the road, I wouldn't be able to trade my time for money any longer. I wouldn't be able to just have the health that would allow me to do something simple like working. So I was constantly looking for a way to not be dependent on my parents, as you can imagine, they sacrificed so much raising a child with a disability. And the last thing I wanted to do was be a burden on them as an adult. Not their perspective, of course, but kind of my own point of view.
Of course. Yeah.
I was looking for, advanced degrees. I got my MBA, a bigger and badder job, just to be able to perhaps save money again for when that inevitable time came when I wouldn't be able to trade my time for money. And boom, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a book I stumbled upon and had that paradigm shift of, I can find a way to, pay my expenses, sustain my life by investing in real estate. And that's not dependent upon my time or necessarily my physical health. So it was a game changer. I was so excited. But as I tried to continue to balance my W-2 job into my early 30s, again, thank God, surpassing my life expectancy, it was tough to balance the W-2, caring for myself with cystic fibrosis, and then trying to enter into a brand new industry. So there were a lot of hospitalizations and ups and downs that really prevented that from happening, but all was not wasted because we can take setbacks as a bad thing or as a struggle, or we can really say, okay, this is a learning experience. This is all in perfect timing. And so there was a pivot time. I know I've talked a lot, so I'm going to take a breather here, Yonah, in case you want to chime in.
It is incredible. I mean, I can't really imagine what that's like to grow up with that challenge. And like you said, just the awareness of your mortality. I mean, we all really need to have that awareness all the time. I mean, it's something that is difficult to give over to children when they're not really faced with something like that. But I honestly think it's a healthy thing. I mean, not that, not to dwell on death or anything like that, but everyone needs to know, even at a young age, that our time on this world is limited. And how do we do the best we can, be the best people that we can become, even from a young age? So it's actually something that, I talk to my kids about, even at a young age. Thank God they're all healthy. But it's something that having the perspective that you had and being able to overcome that, or, I mean, miraculously, really, because if the life expectancy is so short, they're obviously something, you were given a lease on life. And I think you're living proof of, trying to live the life to your fullest and doing that. So take me down the road of, I mean, you said there were hospitalizations, there were challenges, there were setbacks. Now that you've kind of come to where you're at, okay, I don't know, we're 40 years old. We're around the same age. I'm a drop older, but I have the white hairs to prove it. So that's okay.
I do too, but you just can't see them.
Yeah. But what are you doing, like, actively, now that you know where you're at and how you're doing it? You're talking about the rich dad, poor dad, the living the life to the fullest, they're trying to create that wealth. How have you changed, I guess, is the real question, to the point where you're focusing on helping others or get others to that point, instead of just kind of focusing on yourself or where you're at, your own financial freedom?
I love that, because that really is the purpose, right, Yonah? I'm not here just, to say me, and to take. The fact that I'm here and, a miracle medication for cystic fibrosis was FDA approved at the end of 2019 that changed my trajectory. That happened because other people decided to donate, decided to care for me, decided to, lift me and elevate me and support me throughout all those years. So I feel so strongly that, I'm excited. It is now my time to be able to give back. So real estate truly is a vehicle. It's kind of not an end for me, but really a way to be able to have, the time freedom for my husband and I to be able to give our time to causes that matter to us. It is a way to have funds so we can give abundantly to those who are in need. And then, of course, a way to be able to care for our residents in a way that delights them, in a way that maybe they've never experienced before. And, instead of feeling like a little number on a spreadsheet, we see them as actual people that have needs and wants and deserve to be cared for. So I'm just so abundantly thrilled with how real estate allows me to hit these values and these goals that I feel are on my heart all the time to be able to give back.
Yeah, it's something that you don't get that from all real estate investors, that they're talking about, thinking about the residents or the tenants and the communities that they're actually investing in. Because most people, and just even the ones that I come across, even those who I respect and like, their main focus is really, as should be, their business, right? Because real estate investing, obviously it's a vehicle, but in the end of the day, it is a business that you're putting a lot of money in there. You're putting a lot of time. You're hoping to make money so that you can, you have investors so that they can make money, right?
Yep.
But in the end of the day, because of the nature of the business, I think Brian Burke, when he was on this show, he kind of changed my perspective of it, or maybe it was JC Castillo. I don't remember which one of them, but one of them, or maybe both of them, talked about their tenants as customers. Okay. And they said, these are our customers. We're running this business. The investors are not the customers, right? The investors are partners in running this business. The customers or the clients are the tenants. And so we want to make sure they're as happy as possible so that they will keep coming back, right? Renewing their rents, that they will tell their friends about it, bringing more people, right? Lessening vacancy, et cetera. So having that focus and really caring, I think that's really the success of every business. And so it doesn't take like a truly altruistic person to really care about their tenants. Yeah. Although the truly altruistic person, will care more probably, but it's sound business, really.
Agree completely that, I think perhaps some segments of our culture have maybe misled us that there's this mutually exclusive relationship between profit and doing well by people, when in fact, especially in this business, those two things are inextricably linked, to your point. So we're fortunate, we've got a great property management company that feels the same because, there are boots on the ground. And when someone needs something, it's not where they're looking, for the dollars and cents. They are empowered and they also have the heart and values to care for people as well. So it's one of the best feelings.
Absolutely. Now, when you're running your real estate company or you're involved in the actual deals and the processes, what parts are you most involved in or like the most? Because obviously, as a member of a greater team, not everyone has to do all the same things, right? Everyone has their unique abilities that they can excel in and allow the others to do the things that they excel in. So of the all possibilities, like what are the things that you love the most or that you do the most?
Yes, I love the market research the most, as well as capital raising. So market research, I've always been a kind of detective and love to explore and find the shiny gems. So going throughout the United States and understanding where emerging markets are and getting to know markets in depth is incredibly exciting. I've also done acquisitions. So I found deals and brought them to sponsors, which I love. But being out in Los Angeles, it's a little bit tougher. There are people that are on the ground that can travel to the Southeast where we typically target, can do a bit better. Capital raising, quite candidly, has fallen in my lap. And, through your LinkedIn challenge, but also by nature of just living in Los Angeles. There's a good amount of money here and people that don't have the time. They have the ability, but they don't necessarily want to invest the time to go through hundreds of deals in a market that's far away from them and then operate that. So I try really hard to just listen to, what you say is either God or universe or whatever. Some of these things give you a little nudge. And as people just keep coming to me saying, Amy, I want to do this. How can you help me? Great. I'm here. Let's go. So it gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah. Are you involved in any sort of like local networking or community type involvement with that regard?
Yeah. As you would imagine during COVID with a lung issue, which thank God is not as bad, had to lay low a little bit, but yeah, some virtual events and all of that have been great. I'm also a University of Southern California graduate, which is known for a very tight kind of networking presence. So those connections have been fantastic as well.
Yeah. And usually more kind of a community of somewhat more affluent people attending USC from what I remember growing up in LA.
Yeah. Thankfully, the median family income of those that have enrolled is actually lower than UCLA now. They've made a massive push to be able to serve not just wealthy people. So yeah, the reputation, you're spot on, but thankfully, they've course corrected a bit, which I'm all for. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, the networking, we're trying to target high net worth individuals to invest in real estate. Those who are busy but may have the resources, that would be a great community to kind of tap into.
Precisely. Yep.
Yeah, I actually remember you mentioning something about that recently on a post somewhere about like a WhatsApp group or something with your business school, like investors. Is that something you started?
Oh my gosh, it's been so much fun. So yeah, I went to both undergrad and graduate school at USC. And as we're entering into our 40s, a lot of people in that community have thankfully done quite well in their W-2 jobs and really understand whether it's the tax benefits or the wealth creation or, everything in between. And most of them still live in California. So yes, it's been really rewarding because, business school makes everyone pretty close and in the know, like, and trust column. I've got all three, thankfully, with a lot of them. So it's been a wonderful process to get them involved and have them benefit.
So let me go back to something you mentioned before. You talked about like this miracle drug that kind of helped you out. Help you out is a really understatement.
Okay, that works.
But tell me about like, what was that? I mean, were there trials and things like that? Like obviously I'm sure you said hospitalizations and things, challenges throughout your life. Were there other tests or other types, testings or other, what's the word I'm looking for? Trials of any sorts of other types of medication or things just kind of to help you get there? Or like, how did you come upon or stumble upon this one thing that's really changed?
Yes, I love this story. So there are only 70,000 people in the world with cystic fibrosis. It is a very rare orphan disease, if you will. So if we imagine we're investors, we're business people, and we've got about $2 to $3 billion that we're going to invest to develop a drug, are we going to choose CF with 70,000 people? Or are we going to choose maybe heart disease or diabetes that affects hundreds of millions of people worldwide? That choice is easy, right? It just from a purely profit and loss and, kind of investment standpoint. So there was this physician in the mid to late 90s named Dr. Bell at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation that invented something called venture philanthropy, where we raised money as a community, our tiny little community, and knocked on doors of biotech companies saying, hey, what if we fund some of the early stage trials? Would that give you all the incentive and we'll split the profits, split the intellectual property? Would that help incentivize you to get into this space? And wouldn't you know, one of them took us up on it. It was Aurora Biosciences, now called Vertex Pharmaceuticals. Trials take a good 10 years. So yeah, it took a while. It took a lot of money and investment, but thankfully, due to those amazing scientists and all the bake sales and car washes that our community did to raise, $5 and $10 at a time, we were able to create what many call the best story in medicine in terms of patient advocacy groups, drug developing. And thankfully, many other orphan disease communities have copied this model and are seeing success as well for drug development. So it's been a game changer. But until this came to the market, we had many other failures. Without getting too dark, but I think it's a story of hope. The gene that causes cystic fibrosis wasn't identified until 1989. That may seem like ancient history to some, but it's pretty recent to me. And so there were gene therapy trials in the early 90s that failed and didn't do all that well. So it was kind of sad and dark for a little bit, but there's really no stopping a community of very motivated people and parents that just said, hey, we're going to stop at nothing. There must be a way. So thrilled. And just to go off on a little tangent, I did a presentation last night on market research. And one of the women emailed me after the presentation saying, hey, I have a 16-month-old with cystic fibrosis. Wow. On this medication, and I've got so much hope. And I just thought, it's just the future of this illness, especially for younger people. I'm so abundantly excited and happy because they'll never face, what the rest of us did. So wow. Stories like that make me so happy.
That's amazing. And it really is like you said, it's a community on its own of the people that a very, very small group of people relatively that are going through this. And the fact that you can, come together and do such great things. And I recall, so you had an organization that kind of supports the families going through these things and, medical expenses and things like that. So that's amazing. People are coming together to do that. And it just shows, the philanthropy, it's obviously you're successful, you make money, but giving back is really an important integral part of, well-rounded person. So appreciate that. Yeah.
It makes it worth it, right?
100%.
Just money by itself is, is interesting, but if we can do something positive with it, that's where the real fulfillment comes.
I look at it as an investment, really, to a certain extent. And maybe it's a little bit of a paradigm shift for some when you talk about investing money, it's charity, it's philanthropy. No, but really it is, because if you look in the long run, like you're investing in other people and in other people's lives. Like you can change someone's life, literally. And that's a huge investment. We look at it like you're changing the world. Like if you change one person's life, you can actually change the whole world. And so that's how I look at it. Actually, someone mentioned today about like, are you doing anything different because of the inflation? And I answered, yeah, I'm investing more in real estate and giving more charity like that. Those are the things that because inflation is just going to make the money worth less. So I may as well give it away. and
Yes.
someone can do something with it today.
I love that. I love that perspective. And I love how empowering it is to when you say, Yonah, that if you just change one person's life, you might be able to change the world, because we truly don't know what can come of that. And having the assumption that, the positive energy or the positive efforts can really cascade and keep going. I know I'm a beneficiary of you doing that, right? With this LinkedIn challenge and how you've changed my business. You didn't know me from anyone, but here we go. And I'm able to help other people as well, hopefully, and pay it forward. It's a little silly example, but meaningful to me. And I think, in this day and age, it can be a little bit disempowering with maybe what is going on in the world, but knowing that we do have the power to care for, even if it's just one person, that has meaning and that's worthwhile going after. I'm just really moved by that perspective, Yonah.
Yeah. And it's little things. Yeah, it really is. Like, you don't have to be like so wealthy. Like the great thing I love about this podcast and the fact that I have a pretty good memory also is that I remember like all the guests and things that they've said. And this just reminds me of something Ira Zlotowicz, who was one of the first guests on the podcast, said about he was the founder of Eastern Union, one of the biggest mortgage companies in the country. He's since then moved on, but he used to tell his junior employees or interns are coming in, give 10%, like give your tithe. If you make $100, give 10 of it away. You're not going to, you're not going to say, I'll when I make more money, then I'll give charity. No, start, if you make $1, give 10 cents. And that's really the perspective. It's a small thing. It really is. Like, you don't have to be super wealthy to give a ton of money. And in fact, the super wealthy often don't really give a lot because, relatively speaking to what they have, if you look at some of it, they're really not giving so much at all. So, and that's learned. It's something that you have to teach yourself from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think one of the biggest life hacks, thank goodness, I learned is we're all designed as humans to be happiest when we give. And our culture most certainly does not teach us that, right? And maybe it's not intuitive because of that. But my goodness, the high and the satisfaction, selfishly, of saying, hey, I have $100 or I just earned $100 and here's $10 that maybe doesn't seem like it makes a difference, but to see that it actually does, not only in the recipient, but also in the giver, it's a game changer. It really, really is. So I love that you talk about that, Yonah. I'm on board and definitely try to live that myself. Truly.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see even in little kids, like I see my little kids, if you teach them, it's not something you even have to teach. That's the most amazing thing. You can see the joy on their face when they give to someone else. And how much that they'll get out of it. And so that that's a real thing. So you just have to, obviously, we have a selfish tendency as humans, as all people do, but that can be taught and can be kind of honed and harnessed. And so you can, grow up having a much better perspective on giving. So that's great. I mean, it really is. It's something I feel very, very strongly about. And hopefully it's coming across to our listeners and to all the people that we try to, impact.
Oh, yeah. You live that out, Yonah. We all see it and love to follow in your example. You do an amazing job at that. Thank you for that.
Well, one more question for you, which is, do you have any plans in the future in terms of, obviously, you're doing great now. You're happy. You enjoy what you're doing. You've gotten into the space full time in the real estate game. Is this something you can see yourself doing for, eternity? Or for as long as, God gives you to live on this world? Or is there anything else like you're looking, hey, let's just retire from all this and let's go travel the world, or, who knows?
Yes. So I have got a little bit of a mixed answer. I set my real estate goals based on the amount of money I'm hoping to earn to give to charity. It's a little bit of a different way of thinking about things. So I've got a certain amount that I'm looking to, I'm going to say it, even though it intimidates me. I'm looking to give $200,000 to charity this year. That's a wild goal.
That's awesome.
But I'm going to keep speaking it into existence because that's how it gets started.
Yep.
So that part for my husband and I keeps us going, and I think will propel us to continue in this industry because, quite candidly, we live in a tiny rental in Los Angeles. We don't need all that much. It's not really interesting to us. So he's looking to retire from hopefully his W-2 and give back to the community in which he was raised in East Los Angeles, after school programs and underserved kids. So as long as the industry or this business helps us to continue to reach some of our larger life goals, I think we will stay in it. Within that, though, you bring up travel. That is definitely something we are interested in doing a bit more of. I myself candidly feel closest to God when I travel. That may sound a little bizarre, but there's something about people that live differently than me, that have different histories, cultures and traditions that just expands my mind, humbles me, and helps me really just see how beautiful this world is, not only geographically, but people-wise. My husband's never been outside of the country. He grew up very humbly and has just been a hard worker. So to be able to do that with him and share that experience would be tremendous as well. So the time freedom where we could still run our business and meet some of our philanthropic goals while also doing some exploring and expanding our hearts and minds would be fantastic as well.
That's awesome. I love that. Love the answer on multiple levels. First of all, I mean, setting your financial goals based on your charitable giving goals that's something I relate to 100%. So, and speaking it out will actually bring it into existence. And, furthermore, if it scares you, that's awesome. And if it scares you even more, it reminds me of something Esty told me at the beginning of the year. She and her husband sat down and said, what's our charitable giving goal going to be for this year? And the business will come from that. And so they said it, and she's like, no, double it. and he was like, okay, wait, but that's, that's how it's going to come into existence. So shout out to Esty if you're listening, which you probably are.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Wow. I need to connect with her. That's tremendous. Good for her.
And so let's transition now, Amy, to what I like to call the final four. These are 4 questions for all of my guests. First question to you: what's the worst job that you ever had?
I don't want to use the company name, but let's just say it's a consumer packaged goods company based out of the Midwest. Good people, good company. But this was one of the first times I learned about cultural fit. To me, a job was just, can I do the job? Do I enjoy the job? How much money am I going to make? Because I was trying to, kind of hedge my bets with my health problems. But really understanding what gets the best out of me in terms of culture and being around people, and also the meaning behind the job that I do. It was just such an eye-opening experience. The company was really shaped upon, bragging about how many hours were spent working, and that's fine. But for me, I'm more of an output-oriented person, and maximizing the time that I do work. So there were just several layers of culture that just didn't fit me, and it was a hard thing to wrap my head around, simply because this was a really prestigious job in my mind. It was something I worked hard for. I went to graduate school for it. And I was really hopeful that it would be kind of the start of my career. So not doing the job well, not feeling good, was a brutal wake-up call. But, as with most, journeys in life, it helped me back into what did fit me, what was meaningful to me, what are my values when I spend, 8, 9, 10 hours a day working. So right. The time didn't feel so great. Looking back, I'm definitely grateful for the experience, but it was tough.
Yeah. Sounds like something in that, culture and corporate culture is something that a lot of people have to learn the hard way. So
yes,
you learned it. Second question: what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. Have you read it, Yonah?
I have not, but actually you are the second person this week that has mentioned that book. MC Labshrew, I just also interviewed this week, mentioned that book as his paradigm shift book. So awesome.
I hope everyone reads it, including you, Yonah. It is a very big eye-opener. It's a long book. It starts off slow, but I would venture to guess it'll be in the top 5 books you've ever read in your life if you read it. Those of us who have read it saw this massive inflation coming, knew that it wasn't transitory, all of those things. It's a very interesting kind of perspective there. So would highly encourage it. I'm kind of a macroeconomic lady, but I like to really understand kind of the systems of, how money is created and how that all works. So I would encourage everyone to read it.
There we go. We'll put it in the show notes and on the book list. So, and it gets 1 rank up higher since it's been mentioned twice. So
yay.
Well, we'll raise it up on the list there. Third question: what is a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Oh, I played piano a lot when I was younger. And I think that skill has probably disappeared, if not gone down in terms of my ability to do it. I think music is such a magical is a weird word, but just such a profound thing that touches not only our mind, but our soul. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great creative expression. So I'm very eager to get my hands on a piano in my little apartment here and take up lessons again. So that would be such a powerful thing to do. And that's one of my goals for 2022.
There you go. Awesome. That is amazing. I love music and love that. That is a very common theme amongst our guests, a musical instrument of some kind. Yeah.
Huh. Do you play one, Yonah?
I taught myself guitar when I was in high school, but I rarely play it. From time to time, I'll pick it up. But, I was never really super good, but that's my extent. I can kind of fool around on the piano a little bit, just by my ear. But yeah, my stepmother actually was a piano teacher for like 40 years, 50 years or something. So extremely musical, very talented. And so I kind of grew up around music, but never really took lessons of any kind. So yeah, I was involved more in other things. But fourth and final question, what does success mean to you?
The level at which I can give back to others, without a doubt. I think there is something hollow, without sounding too strong on this, about kind of gathering, seeing how many things I can gather, mm-hmm. whether they're tangible items or, digits in my bank account, if I'm not able to have an impact on others. And no surprise to anyone, I have a little bit of a cheat code there because I've been the recipient of so many people's impact and generosity. So the ability to finally be able to give back, and it's my turn now to care for others, is so exciting. So I'm grateful to be in a position in an industry that enables me to do that.
Love that. Love that answer. Amazing. Thank you. And finally, where can our listeners find you or reach out to you?
Well, thanks to Yonah, I'm very active on LinkedIn and love providing as much value as possible. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and then also my website, sylviscapital.com, spelled SYLVIS at capital.com. Would love to talk to you, and especially folks that are having maybe trouble finding deals, but are looking to invest. I'm happy to help out with that. So reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a lot of fun. Really great episode. I appreciate you joining me today.
Likewise. Thanks for the opportunity.
And to our listeners, thank you again for joining once again all the way to the end. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yonah Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.